guys, it's Marisa, and I am really happy to have found a way to fit in our 7 Magic Words integration session. As you might have heard yesterday, unfortunately, my little one has been home sick with me all week. And at that moment when I came on yesterday, she really needed her mama. She bumped her head, the poor thing. And when you've had a cold for a week, a bumped head has got to be the world's worst. And mom can't say, sorry, honey, watch a movie, I'm on a call. So I'm here now. Ordinarily, we do this over Zoom. And hey, Colleen. And we have a chance to really interact together and be together in this process. But seeing as we are just a few days from Christmas, and I know everyone's starting to be scattered to the winds, at this point, done is better than perfect. And I still trust that there's magic to be made here, and that we will find ways to stay connected through magic words and through the other things I'm going to be telling you about today. And the good stuff never goes, right? We get to hold on to the things that matter, and we find ways to integrate them in, and we find ways to improvise, and we find ways to really stay connected. So I have a few writing prompts that I put together for us to do this work of integration. And I see it as 3 parts, right? We're going to think about it as reflection and a time to do that. Hey, Cheryl, good to have you here. We're going to think about transformation, because I think that, large or small, I know that you can track changes that happened for you in this past week. And then we do the work of integration, because it's really important to remember, we often look at transformation as that great ultimate goal. Well, parts of you may transform, right? Think about those peak experiences when you go away on a retreat, you go away to, some amazing event. I think once you've done it a few times, you get the wisdom to realize, I may have changed and transformed, but I need to figure out how to integrate this into my real life, because I want to take a piece of this phenomenal healing experience, this amazing community experience, and help it enliven my Tuesday morning cup of coffee. Like, how is it going to sustain me when my little one has the stomach flu at 1:00 in the morning on a Sunday? Like, these are the times when we most need our magic, when we most need our transformation to take root and to really hold us. So I'm, again, really grateful for everyone who's just kind of rolling with me on this. And, there'll be time for us to dive into conversation. It isn't necessarily going to be today. Instead, I just want to give you all some things to think about, some things to go through. I'm going to go ahead and share the prompts I have a low network connection. That's a bummer. Hopefully you guys can still see me. Okay. Hey, Dawn, it's good to have you here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share these prompts in the group right now. And, ordinarily, the way I had in the best made world, I had dreamt up that we would, give ourselves some time to really write into these together. So instead of doing that, I'm going to just have these here for you. Would ask you to come back to them if you can make the time. I know that is harder, because getting somebody to set up an hour for us to sit down and do this reflection work is often the only way that it happens. So if you're watching this recording, let's do this. I'm going to read the prompts. I'm going to ask you to stop the video for at least 5 minutes and work on them, and then start up again. Those of you who are with me live, I would love for you to set aside at least 20 minutes or so after we're done to go and dive in and see what happens for you. Because, something that I've learned now again, I think you might have lost me for I've got connection problems, and I'm not quite sure why. This has never been an issue before. Hold on half a second, guys. I'm just going to see if... No, I should be on my wireless. I may switch this over, and now we're live again. Can somebody give me a thumbs up if they can see me, and let me know if it's working right now? Okay, awesome. Cheryl, just let me know. Is there any breakup in the connection, or does it seem okay? All right. If you guys haven't said anything, I'm going to assume it's all right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read the prompts for you. And then I am going to just talk a little bit about my process okay, thanks, Colleen. I'm going to talk a little about my process with the words that came through for me, because I hope that I've done this 7 times now, right? This is the 7th round of magic words. I'm going to show you a little bit about what my integration work looks like. So again, right now, hey Kathy, right now I just posted in the group. If you're on your phone, you can actually minimize me and move me over to the side to keep watching and listening, and go to the group and find the post that I just put up. I'll make it an announcement so it comes up top, and it is. So this, like I said, we're going to talk about reflection, transformation, and integration, because, the brain works in 3s. Most of the best things in life come in 3s. That comes from Celtic wisdom, but it also comes from just the basics of, think about it. We've got Huey, Dewey, and Louie. So the Trinity is pretty sacred. We might have picked that up in a couple of different places from our worlds. So we're going to look at this as reflection, transformation, integration. So the first thing I would ask you to do is take time to look at all of your words. Maybe you've come up with your 8th and final word that integrates. Maybe you haven't done that yet. Maybe you haven't gotten all 7 to get you there. Trust that that will come when it's time, because I would love for you to look at all of these words together. You may have noticed that I shared a collage that I created on Canva. I always do that to see how all of my words want to play together. And that's where a lot of revelation, I think, can come through. So sometimes you might want to do this on Post-it notes and see how you can move your words around and adjust them. Sometimes it's just good to see them out on a list and recognize the chronology, because this process that you all did, giving yourself 8 days, especially in a busy time of year, to ask for a specific word based on a prompt. It could be something you just did in passing and no big deal, but it could be something that really opens things up and reveals something for you. So allow yourself that space to remember that sometimes the biggest, most important things we do start off in really subtle ways with really, simple a word here and there, right? Because, the way I look at this, the reason why I've been doing these magic words now, for me, it's been a 2-year process. I started this as a 365 magic words project back on January 1st of 2017. And I ended up actually stopping the daily process in the middle of this past year, because I recognized it was becoming a drain rather than something that was feeding me. But still 18 months of a word every day. You better believe that started to shift things for me, big time. And because I see these magic words as building blocks for our bigger stories, for our sovereign stories, is how, that's how I would speak of it. These are the stories that are inside of us that must be told, that are yearning to be told. And so, yeah, you have a collection of 7 or 8 words. You could forget them tomorrow, or you could use them as building blocks for something else. So when you're looking at these words, think about the fact that some of them, they were just a whim. Some of them really might want to hold you and root you into something more. So when you look at your words, think about this. What familiar themes appear? It may be what the commonalities are between the words themselves, but it also may be what ideas are coming through you that have come through before, that you're starting to recognize, are part of your signature self, that are part of your real truth, that always come through and come up if you're, doing any kind of exercise, any kind of writing prompts, any sort of situation where people are asking you to reflect. Do certain words and themes reappear again and again? You may already be aware of them, but this may be your moment to say, oh my gosh, wow, I always come back to curiosity. That is the word that was number 1 in this particular 7 magic words challenge, by the way. It was remarkable to see how it kept occurring in prompt after prompt. And so many of you found ways to fold it in and to recognize, I think it seems like a really central piece of who you guys are. And that makes sense in magic makers, in seekers of the light, in seekers of sovereignty. We are curious about all that we are, about all that could be, about all that's unseen in our world. Because I do not believe we live in a what you see is what you get universe. I refuse to believe that. And it's not that I think we live in a cloak and dagger kind of world and I'm believing in conspiracy theories. No, it's more that I'm thinking just because I can't see the fairies doesn't mean they don't exist. Just because I can't see the energy swirling around us all the time doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. We live in a world that is fueled by the unseen. And that may be, simply be emotion and intention. And it may be that you look at energy and magic as having a different sort of form. I love to stay open to all of that, especially in a project like this one that was dedicated to the mystery. Your curiosity guides you through the mystery of your daily life in the year to come. So the next question I had was, what word surprises you most? I would love for you to sit with the one that you're like, oh, that doesn't seem to fit. Maybe the one that you might want to reject as not being beautiful enough. Because I think a lot of the time too, when we're looking for magic words, we want the unicorns from the stable. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with unicorns. Unicorns are beautiful, amazing things. Absolutely. But, sometimes it's the word that isn't all that sparkly or sexy that has the most to reveal to us. It may be the word that comes out of the shadow. Because magic is not all glitter and not all light. Self-discovery is not just finding all those secret and hidden gems inside you. It's sometimes saying, oh, I had to walk through a really dark cave in order to get to this gem. We have to acknowledge the dark and the light. So what word most surprised you that came through for you? Oh, Colleen, it was great to have you for a few minutes. I'm excited that you'll take the time to write today. Colleen is one of my unicorns, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. She's a member of my sovereignty circle, and so it's awesome to see when my sovereignty seekers make magic. Thank you so much. So the last thing I want you to ask yourself as you're looking at all your words is, if your words are a reflection of who you are, what's missing? And that just maybe, there wasn't the right prompt for you that would get you to come up with this specific part of who you are. But it also may be that there's a part of you that you're used to leaving in the wings. There's a part of you that you're accustomed to keeping till last. And, that's actually one of the biggest things I've discovered in doing magic words for so long. And ironically enough, what I was leaving out so often from my work was my magic. Because for me, in this process of evolution in the last 2 years, I've realized I'm not just a copywriter. I'm not only here to help people write websites. I have some skill in that. But what I'm here for is the magic. What I'm here for is the healing work. What I'm here for is this bigger idea of sovereignty that's huge and scary and important and fundamental. And that stuff like that seems less practical than, I'm a marketing expert, or I'm a coach who helps people sell things, or I'm a therapist who helps people deal with specific issues like anxiety and depression. We have diagnoses and we have quantifiable terms because it helps us in our quantifiable world. Capitalism rather loves things that are easily measured. Magic is hard to measure. And I think we often leave our most profound and exciting and fundamental to who we are magic in the wings because we don't know how to fit it into our practical everyday world. So if you're looking at your words and you're thinking there's something that might be missing, give yourself permission to write a new prompt, to revisit one of the prompts with a different spirit in mind, to keep creating and generating magic words through the new year. Because if your words are a reflection of who you are, what's missing? So this reflection work, I would love for you to spend some time on it. Like I said, we're not going to really give you time to write right now, but I would, if you can, if you're watching this, press pause and do that. Sit and write for a while and see what comes through. With your words on Post-it notes, wherever it's going to be, doodle, put them into a drawing, see what happens, okay? Because the next thing we're going to do is work on the second part of our trinity here, which is the transformation work. And, I often say that I work with transformation professionals because I think that really holds the great scope of who my people are, the healers, the coaches, the therapists, the creatives, the people who are here doing that work that helps people make changes and root them in. And so this idea, my definition of magic is magic is the art of changing consciousness at will. If you've hung out with me for a while, I'm sure you've heard me say that. It's a quote from a novelist named Dion Fortune, who actually did a lot of occult stuff in the early 20th century. But magic is the art of changing consciousness at will, right? So change is immediately baked into all this, right? We don't do magic because we want the world to stay exactly the same. We don't look for the magic in ourselves because we're happy with the status quo, right? So what changed for you this week? And you may see a direct line in 7 magic words. You say, oh my gosh, because I came up with that word on Monday, it absolutely shifted everything. Or you may just give yourself a chance to pause and say, okay, between Friday, December 14th and Saturday, December 22nd, in these days leading up to the winter solstice, in the midst of a full moon, which was in the sky yesterday. That's one of the things that I'm sad we didn't get a chance to talk yesterday, because I really wanted to give us some time to hold space for this sense of the light returning on a night when there's a full moon in the sky. In my meditation this morning, which I don't know, there's my change right there. I'll tell you, I've actually gotten back to my meditation practice this week. It's one of the things that helped me in the midst of having a sick kid and holding magic words and doing all the other year-end stuff. I got back to my meditation practice. And in that, it was that idea of the sun and the moon. The sun in its just newborn, nascent place, paired with the moon at her fullest. And I invite you just to consider that in your life. Is there something that's really, really full, and there's something that's just returning, that constant level of ebb and flow that we're in? Maybe that'll help you figure out what sort of transformation to root for you this week. And if you're really saying, I don't know, same old, well, what if you decide to write into the kind of transformation you're seeking? This might be a more compassionate way of moving toward your dream of 2019. We don't say New Year's resolutions around here, right? We talk about how we're going to dream into a new year. And so think about the transformation that you're seeking. Think about what it is you want to change in terms of your consciousness. And we know that changing one person's consciousness, changing your own, ripples forth and makes tremendous changes all over the place, right? So again, if you're watching this, press pause. Sit with this idea of what changed for you this week. Nothing is too small and nothing is too big. If you're feeling like, oh my gosh, is it possible that my mind shifted, my life shifted around this one particular idea? I can't say this is changing it. I've wanted it to change forever. Maybe it did change this week. What if it changed this week? That's amazing, right? The changes are here and coming, even if they're in that newborn place, just like the sun is right now, just beginning to return, just beginning to emerge. Celebrate that and allow yourself, give yourself the courage and the permission to pin it to the page and to say, hey, this thing in my life that I've wanted to change forever, whether it's an addiction, whether it's a way of relating to other people, whether it's just an old pattern in which you see yourself being really self-destructive, you see yourself stuck in that sense of not me, I couldn't possibly. Maybe that really has started to change. That would be amazing. And it's possible to own that and claim that and say, I'm going to keep growing that. So again, right into this, pause, come back, because we're going to move on to the third element, which is integration. Because as I was saying at the beginning of the call, we need to integrate after we make big changes, right? We need to figure out some ways to fold in all the fabulous things that we've been doing. So, the goal of what we were doing here is to make creative magic part of everyday life, right? And that means that you are giving yourself permission to find a magic word on your own without a prompt, just because it's a random Wednesday in January. And you realize that's going to help you with your commute, Creative magic wants to be part of your everyday life. And that's what we do when we help in order to make the transformation real, as we keep inviting it in. So again, I want you to look back at your words and continue to look on your words and think about the natural connections between them. And also look for the words that kind of seem to lie on the outside. You may find that the outliers, they were just, again, just a whim. Or you may find that you want to figure out a way to pull those pieces in for yourself. My word ended up being a word that my word that integrates ended up being mothering, which really surprised me, to be honest, because oftentimes I've seen mothering as sort of an external, though it's certainly been my role for 9 years, and here I am in this house, and so much of my time is devoted to my kids. It always seemed hugely problematic to me that my own creative sovereignty and individual sovereignty often was sort of colonized by that motherhood role, by that, you're mom. I'm not mom. I'm Marisa. I'm a woman with children. I love these kids madly, but they're not the whole definition of who I am. But the bigger idea of mothering, that actually helped me integrate my magic for this week, because I recognized all the ways in which mothering is a verb that wants to hold us in the divine sense, in the sense of the divine mother, in the sense of how do we hold and nurture one another, not just our own offspring, but people who need our help and support. How do we mother this earth? How do we allow her to mother us? What integrates us is the mother. The act of integration comes with mothering, giving and receiving. So, allow your what word that integrates to be a surprise as well. So again, the prompts are here, but, look for, hey, Michelle, how are you? I'm just, all the prompts that I'm talking through right now, I just put up as an announcement in the group. And we're just closing out, inviting people over, just have a look and come back to write into them later. Ultimately what we're looking for in our word that integrates is the word that's going to bring you into you after this week, the word that's going to bring you into the next year. If you guys have your words that integrate, I would love for you to put them in the comments, and of course put them into the group, because I just want to say thank you, all of you, for having been part of all of this and for having, done the work. And I mean that in the most positive sense, because magic is a kind of work. Our personal process is work in the best sense of things. It's that idea of, it's what we commit to and what we have the compassion for ourselves to leave space for. Because yes, we are human beings, not human doings, but there's a lot to be done in this world, in terms of rooting in. Oh yeah, Michelle, I saw that your word was therapy. I really loved that. It just, especially because we have so many therapists in this group, and it just seemed like, but just in general, like I love that sometimes our word that integrates is, it's something very specific, right? It's not necessarily, sometimes it wants to be something huge like love or connection. And sometimes it wants to be like, no, it's the act of mothering. It's therapy. It's those places where we get support and where we know that we get integrated. So I'm excited to keep connecting with you all in this Magic Word Sanctuary. I do want to make a little announcement that the group will be staying open for the time being, but this is going to be the last 7 Magic Words Challenge for a while. I've done 7 rounds, and it's been amazing. And I'm realizing that, we have to close the chapter sometimes, even on the really good stuff. And I won't be doing this in the spring. I'm not sure what's going to come in the spring. My book is going to be written is going to be going into the publisher in the spring. So there's going to be a lot of my energy that needs to go there. But for now, we're kind of closing the chapter on 7 magic words. And I realized that is part of bonus 8th round. Maybe not quite in the same way. Because a whole month of my life goes into making 7 magic words happen. And it won't happen in the spring. And that act of liberation for me is integrating me all over again, because I can recognize that Yeah, thank you, Cheryl. My magic needs to expand into something new, and part of that is, the natural expansion is that I'm really excited to put even more energy into my sovereignty circle, which for the last year I've run the Sovereign Writers Circle, and this group is really just it's a new name, and just to mark the evolution of a group that has been absolutely phenomenal for the last year, and is really the goal for me, for all of our writing, for everything that we do, is reciprocity. Is that, your writing wants to give back to you. Your relationship with the earth is about holding her as she holds you. We're in relationship with each other in order to know there's a sense of mutuality, right? And so for me, in being the leader of an online writing group for the last year, I can say that it supported me and held me, I think, as much as I held it. And that to me is the ultimate place to be. And in this evolving relationship, I'm realizing the Sovereign Writers Circle is really the sovereignty circle, because there's a line from Natalie Goldberg, who's the mother of writing practice, and she says to do writing practice means to deal ultimately with the whole of your life. And that's what we've been doing for the last year in this group. We meet to write every Wednesday at noon Eastern. We gather together for a coaching session, writing coaching and story healing for an hour and a half every month. And then we bring in a guest as well. And so there's, at least, 6-7 hours a month we're talking, and we're actually gathered, because a lot of times we're just writing for ourselves. But in that time, it's about so much more than putting words on the page and pushing to get something published. That's been way less of the focus than I actually thought it would be for these members of my group, even though a lot of them are, they're coaches and they're therapists and there's healers and they're people with their own practices who want to be using their own magic and their own message and those authentic pieces of their heart in order to spread the word about their work and to build their professional practices. And in order to do that, the thing is, I'm actually been amazingly surprised that though that's some of what they're doing, what we're really there to do with the writing prompts that I offer every week, with the conversations that we have, is personal growth. In that, that's a tough term too, right? That's one of my shadow terms, like personal development, self-help. But those are the words we use for being part of the transformation, for being really invested in our own shifts so that we are able to help make the shifts in the world, to help make the world more beautiful, bearable, and bold, and to ultimately stand sovereign in our own stories, to know them so well, to integrate them into who we are, so that it stops being a question of, well, should I write about this and tell everybody? Because that's often a question I get so often, especially for people who, if you're somebody who has in a profession where boundaries are really important, and sharing your own personal stuff isn't something that feels like something that's ethical you can do, right? And so you stop asking, is it safe to share this story, when you understand that you've embodied it so fully you can tell a new story. And that's, to me, that's so much of what sovereignty is that you get really clear on like, oh, I've healed this and embodied this enough that this is helpful to share. And so that's one of the many things we do in this group, because ultimately magic words are building blocks for our sovereign stories. These sovereign stories that are ours to live and ours to embody and ours to tell. Because it's almost become a cliche that the world needs your story. It's true. And the world also needs your full embodied empowerment. And that's really what ultimately I'm recognizing all my work is moving toward. Writing is a tool. Magic words are tools. It's about living fully sovereign in your life. And so that is my wish for you in this next few days as we move toward the new year, into the new year itself. What words, what actions, what feelings are going to make you feel most wholly integrated in who you are, most able to claim the earth that's beneath your feet, to root into the earth, to root into the stars above your head, to say, I claim and know my place so well that then I'm able to reach my arms out and embrace. I'm able to reach out and offer healing. I'm able to reach out and mingle my story with yours. Because sovereignty is not about rugged individuality and becoming your own island. No, it's the first, most important piece in developing relationship with everyone that you want to bring into your circle, right? So the journey doesn't end here, even though this is going to be our last 7 magic words for a while. I might bring it back in the summer or next fall. We'll continue to be together here in the Magic Word Sanctuary, especially at least until everybody has all their magic words, because we don't leave anybody behind. We cheer until everyone's crossed the finish line. And this process is more than a week long. As I've told you, it's about looking into the bigger game, the broader picture, right? Because the magic wants to grow beyond a single word. And so I'm going to leave us just with giving you guys my own perspective on my own magic words, because I feel like they really hold so much of my experience of all of you. And I'm so grateful for all of you, for you guys showing up in the midst of it all. And I love, my first... Oh, you haven't done all yours yet, Kathy. No worries. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble. Some of the comments are coming in and out. I'm glad they're showing up again. Experienced was my first word. And I just kind of love that. Sometimes I always end up, when I do my magic words, I always get a word that ends up holding the entire thing. So in these magic words, I have experienced a great thaw of what was iced up and blocked inside, and I didn't even know that it was. And it's enabled me to embrace all the good and all the bad, so that I could emerge with with an extraordinary view on how this world wants to hold me, to shift, to change, and a devotion to my own sovereignty, what it is I'm here to do, and to community, which has held me in such remarkable ways, and which I realize this week how I hold community. Because believe it or not, this may, I don't know, I feel like a fool for not being this, and honesty is my next word. If you asked me about my relationship with community, I would have said I'm not so sure. And meanwhile, I've been doing all these 7 magic words challenges with all of you guys. And I have an online community that I would love to ask you to join. What is it that magic words reveals to us? What are you not seeing? I know what I didn't see. And I only feel a little bit silly because I'm so freaking glad to have realized the role of community in my life. And as I talked before about the role of mothering, and how it's a bigger thing than just being somebody's mom. So please share with us your kind of your bigger picture of how all of these different words end up. As Michelle says right here, a word collage or a cloud that reflects our mood. Like, how can you make the word collage? How can you tell a story of how all your words come together? I would love to see that. And let me know. And there's one last thing I want to mention to you too. If you decide that the Sovereignty Circle is right for you and it's something that you want to continue on with, and because you can be a member for 3 or 6 months, and that I'm offering everybody a free one-on-one story healing session if you join the group before December 24th. And so this could be a time to do a lot of this integration work and get some help around it. This is in my story healing sessions. I bring both my very practical self that can help you look at and organize things. I have a copywriter's brain after all. And it also is a time for me to offer you my magic. This is when tarot cards come out and my chumpy stones, which I can describe to you guys at another point. Actually, if you're a Sovereignty Circle member, you get access to all of our past calls, and you can meet my teacher, Eleanor Amendolara, who has channeled and created this chumpy illumination work. There's 12 stones, and each one is a representation of, or a facet of human consciousness, and their words. I mean, birth and balance and unity, and it goes all the way up to freedom, creation, manifestation. This is my healing work itself is It's wordy, but it also is that place that goes beyond words. Because ultimately, as much as I am a devotee of language and communication, and I certainly couldn't do without it, ultimately our work here is beyond words. It's the work of the heart. It's the work of the soul. It's in that symbolic space that takes us into the universal. Doesn't matter if somebody speaks English or not. It's what you see when you close your eyes at the end of the day. It's what you feel when you hold somebody really close. It's what you know when you put your hands on the earth and you know that she doesn't understand thank you, or I'm sorry, or I need. She understands your presence. That's what we're here to do with our magic. So I love you all. I'm so thankful to all of you for having come through with so many phenomenal words, with so many powerful stories and images. You've done beautiful work this week. I am so grateful to all of you. I will keep in touch. You will hear from me more as we continue to wrap up 7 magic words. Please let me know if you're interested in joining us in the Sovereignty Circle. This is the place where the magic really continues, and we get to really dive deep into what it is that you are here to do. I say that with a pause because it almost feels like too much, but no, that's what your sovereign story is, what you're here to do, what you need to uncover in order to start making it happen. So please let me know if you're interested. If you sign up by the 24th, I'd love to offer you a free session in the new year. Keep making magic. We'll keep playing here together. And I am so deeply grateful to all of you. All right. Have an amazing Saturday. I'm going to go check on that little girl of mine. I think everything's doing okay. And, I think I lost my connection for a second there. Thanks to everybody. Let me know what you need. If you have any more questions about your magic words, about integrating them, about the Sovereignty Circle, we'd love to have you with us starting on January 2nd. It's our next meeting. It's when we sit and write together. And again, I'm so grateful to you all. The magic maker in me sees the magic maker in you, even now that the challenge is done. All right. Blessings.